Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the Gold Derby Roundtable with Charlie and Tony. I am your host, Charlie Bright.
And I'm your co-host, Tony Ruiz.
And this is our first venture to talk about the stuff that we all love here on this website. We got two great guests from our wonderful staff. First, we have our senior editor, Ray Richmond.
Howdy, everybody.
And we have from Sydney, Australia, we have a long time contributor, Robert Licuria.
Hello.
Those dulcet tones. Those dulcet Australian tones.
That's
It's
a great
so
mic you
dulcet.
got there, Tony. Wow.
Why, thank you.
That is, I don't mean that to sound inappropriate, but that is a beautiful looking mic.
I think inappropriate is always best. That should be our
Yes.
default. Yeah.
So we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about some news items. Then afterwards, we're going to talk about our predictions for the Producers Guild of America and the SAG Awards, which are going to be coming up next week. So Tony, why don't you help us lead us off with some of these some of the news stories that we've been following for the past week?
Well, it's always very interesting, and I hate to start off with a bummer. I think that one of the saddest stories of the week was the news about Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, who revealed the diagnosis of aphasia that had basically caused him to retire from acting, has now actually turned out to be a very serious and debilitating form of dementia. And it's really kind of a sad end to a guy who really came up through the ranks, with such a huge hit on television with Moonlighting, and then parlayed that into some of the best films of the late 80s and early 90s. And I'm curious, I was very stunned by this news. I was not prepared for how much it would affect me, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like some of the memorializing on social media has been quite tasteful and very touching, because it feels like he's almost passed away. That's just a feeling I'm getting. Obviously, he's still with us, thankfully, but this diagnosis is so sad. I'm such a fan of his as well. I will never forget the performance in The Sixth Sense. Really broke my heart, and I think that was one of the performances where people realized he's not just an action hero. He's actually a really, really talented actor and artist in Unbreakable, and just his great, his collaborations with M. Night Shyamalan, I will never forget. And I'm really sad by this news.
Yeah, it's funny because there's been talk about Moonlighting finally coming to streaming, and I think people forget that for all of the turmoil of that show, behind the scenes, it was doing a lot of things that a lot of shows in the 80s were not doing.
Oh, I don't forget that at all. And in fact, I have a story about Moonlighting. I was a TV critic at the time for the LA Daily News. And I remember ABC was going to be doing a big kind of premiere day of its new series. Another one of them was Family Matters. And they saved Moonlighting for last. And everybody had one question after watching the Moonlighting pilot at an event in Century City, was who is that guy? Who is that star, that male star? He was just so sassy and so charismatic, and, really sort of, to some degree, blotted out Sybil Shepherd, which I'm sure she wasn't terribly appreciative of. But he was so good. And I think Moonlighting is actually one of the great underrated, underappreciated shows in television history. So dense with wonderful dialogue. Those scripts, those hour-long scripts used to run, over 100 pages, because it was just rat-a-tat-tat, back and forth. And to see someone who was so alive and so lively and so charismatic like Bruce, to have this happen first with the aphasia, and then to have it turn into dementia is just unimaginable. As ridiculous as that sounds. I know these things can happen to anyone, but it seems to hit those who somehow we would seem to be the least likely candidates for that. He was just so talkative and alive and animated. And it's interesting because I'm not sure, and I'm still not completely sure what the difference is between aphasia and dementia. I think they're fairly close cousins, if I'm not mistaken. One is simply a more severe condition than the other, but are pretty similar.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But on top of that, when the diagnosis first came down about aphasia, my mom's a nurse, and when she was looking at the language that they were using, sometimes if you look at the language that they're using, you can sometimes get a better idea of what's going on. And my mom was saying, this sounds like it's going to lead to dementia. And so I was as shocked. It was something that I was kind of aware we probably would be seeing over the next couple of years, but still seeing that headline just it knocks the wind out of you. And I think of some of my favorite performances of his. I think I loved him, and of course, he's such so great in Pulp Fiction. He's so great in that movie. Of course, the original Die Hard, The Sixth Sense, as Rob said. And I think he was also like kind of working his way into Wes Anderson's group, because he's really great in Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah. Well, best wishes to Mr. Willis and his family. On some happier news, and incredibly happy news, Amy Poehler and Tina Fey are going on tour together with the aptly named, I don't know why this name, even the name of the tour strikes me as funny, the Restless Leg Tour. I think it's almost surprising that they've never done this before, especially when you think of some of the great comedy duos that, Steve Martin and Martin Short are now go on tour regularly together. Before that, you could think of somebody like, say, Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks going on tour together. Will any of us go to this? And Charlie, since I think the tour starts in Washington, D.C., will you go?
Well, there's an interesting story about that. So the pre-sale went on sale and they sold out.
Whoa.
So they sold out from the pre-sale. And I think their first show is at if I'm not mistaken, you double check on this. Is it the Kennedy Center that they're doing it at?
It's at Constitution Hall.
Oh, at DAR. Okay. So yeah, that's a big freaking venue. And I actually graduated high school from there. And I so like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to go unless I sneak my way in through by jamming myself into like the sound equipment. But let's be honest, I can't contort like that anymore.
Oh, I would love to go. That would be something that I would be very, very keen to go to. Obviously, that's not going to happen. There's 4 dates. I think Washington, Chicago, Boston, and Hard Rock Live. So that is going to be amazing. I love it how in their press release they say, if this tour goes right, we can finally end this friendship, given that they are celebrating 30 years of friendship. I hope that Netflix or somebody films it and streams it, because I would definitely watch that.
They're so good. They're just so smart and play off each other so well. The smartest ladies in comedy that I think I've probably ever seen. And they're you're right. It's amazing they haven't done this before. I wish they hosted award shows every year. I mean, they were so great doing the SAGs, and really had the exact right attitude for this. I mean, not for the SAGs, for the Golden Globes. That's just the right attitude for the Golden Globes. Just the right touch of contempt for the whole process.
Yeah.
In developing movie news, I think all of us agree that The Last of Us, HBO's The Last of Us, is quite possibly one of the best shows on TV right now, and leave it to Hollywood to try to cash in on a trend. After almost 20 years, Will Smith is returning to I Am Legend. with Michael B. Jordan. The screenwriter Akiva Goldsman even says in the announcement that The Last of Us directly inspired the return to I Am Legend. So my question, is this a project you're excited about? Were any of you fans of the original film?
Well, I want to say straight up, I am a huge fan of the original film. I love it. I've seen it many, many times. I like the genre. I do really enjoy apocalyptic drama, action, and whatever, especially zombies and stuff like that. Although I wasn't really into The Walking Dead, to be honest. But this was great, and I'm very happy they're doing another one. I'm a little bit mixed on wanting to watch Will Smith that often, to be completely honest. I'm holding a few Sicilian grudges over what happened at the Oscars last year, but I'll still watch it. I'm all over this. I think it's going to be great. The more the better. Just throw the content at us, and we will devour.
It's weird. I remember seeing I Am Legend in the theater and being really taken with it. I was really blown away by it. But I haven't really thought about it that much since then. So the weird thing is that I have not watched The Last of Us because I'm usually I'm so usually averse to any televised zombie shit because it feels so overdone. Now I know the reviews for this have been good, so I will get around to watching it at some point, but probably sooner rather than later. But I'm interested, but it's one where I'm probably going to wait and see what some of the reviews say before I actually pay $25 to go see it.
I'm just going to screen up.
Yeah, I'm more, I wasn't a big I Am Legend person. I'm more of a Shaun of the Dead guy.
Why am I not surprised?
Perfect. It's perfect.
But I thought if we're going to see Will popping up in anything in the near future was going to be I Am Pissed Off or I Will Kill You. No. No, I believe he deserves another chance after the Oscar debacle. But I have to admit, it's sort of tainted him to me. I mean, I still go back and forth on this too. How many of us, did any of us think that this looked or could have been staged at the time it happened?
Yeah,
I understand that it does no one any good to have staged this. It doesn't help anyone's image. But at the time, I just thought, this is just too bizarre. It's too insane. I couldn't. It seemed like something designed to throw attention onto an award show that needed a shot in the arm.
And the thing is, it wasn't. I thought the same thing. I think we all did. And I'm not really cranky with Will Smith anymore. I feel like he just had some kind of weird break. He's obviously dealing with some stuff, maybe some mental health issues, and we have to
that had nothing to do with Chris Rock.
Yeah, I think though what I'm angry about still, to be honest, is the way the Academy dealt with it on the night, with the standing ovation and the tears and all this nonsense. And he ruined this moment for so many other nominees. It's tainted that part of the proceedings. And I just feel like the Academy could have done better. I think this is probably going to parlay into what we talk about next. But I just feel like, the Academy screwed it up. And they really, I felt sick after seeing the whole thing play out. So this is terrible.
I'm on the same page
as that too.
Shogun Isaac,
that they screwed up.
Shogun Isaac made reference to that at the nominees luncheon earlier this week, saying that their response was inadequate. And I'm in complete agreement with Rob. Apart from the actual assault itself, and let's call it what it is, was an assault. To me, the thing that bothered me even more was the way that it was kind of just shoved under the carpet, and we were supposed to feel sorry for him at the time. And I was like, it's a little weird. Hi, we're standing up, and we're standing up and giving him a standing ovation. It rubbed me the wrong way.
It's like if anybody else, if a random audience member had done that, they would have been thrown out.
Right.
And it feels like, in retrospect, at the very least, he should have been asked to leave.
Right. Imagine if you're Chris Rock. This is terrible. What a look. Terrible look. What are you doing? Get out.
Speaking of Oscars
Yeah.
moments that will live forever, a new book is coming out.
What's a book?
A book
Who
is
has time
those
for
things
books?
that you read
people
on a
still
screen.
People still
No,
read
they
that.
haven't read to them via various
Yeah,
audiobook
audibles.
apps. The New Yorker writer Michael Schulman has written a book called Oscar Wars: The History of Hollywood in Gold, Sweat, and Tears. And in the Hollywood Reporter this week, there was an extensive excerpt published, particularly focusing on the great envelope gate of
Another great moment
2017.
in Oscar history.
Another great moment in
A
Oscar
really good
history.
one, yeah.
It's one of those moments where you have to break it down into, I have to break it down into two things. I'm like, for the people that were actually involved, both the Moonlight people and the La La Land people, I feel incredibly bad for them because it was a really, it was a crappy situation. However, that is still one of the greatest moments of live television that I have ever seen. I have watched that clip like it's the damn Zapruder film. I pinpoint every moment as to the person I always feel the most bad for is Mark Platt, because everything goes down while he's giving his speech and he turns to Fred Berger and so he has no idea what's happened. Everyone is it's slowly rippling behind everyone behind them, and he turns to Fred Berger to give his speech, and Berger just shakes his head like, no, don't want to do this,
but then does it anyway and still says, "Oh, we lost, by the way."
I was sitting behind the grassy knoll at the time I saw this, and and I got to say, it was one of the most surreal things I've ever been associated with, not just watching on TV, but anywhere, where I just thought of all the moments and to see the look on the face of Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. And they were such deer in the headlights, and it was just.
Oh, mate.
Well,
you're right. What a great horrible moment.
It surprises me how many people still don't understand that this was not the Academy's fault. The Academy did nothing wrong here. This was all on Price Waterhouse, and specifically their accountant, their one accountant,
Brian Cullinan,
who was tweeting pictures backstage, like right at the time that he would have been handing Warren Beatty that envelope. They could actually
and if you read the excerpt, there's a detailed, almost moment by moment description of what happened backstage leading up to that, about how he was showing Leonardo DiCaprio or Warren Beatty or somebody, I can't remember at this point, but what the easiest way to open up the envelope so it doesn't take too long to open the envelope. That's what he was worried about.
Opening lessons is what
and in the process, he gave Beatty the wrong envelope. He was still holding. He violated every protocol because there's two envelopes on each side. There's one envelope on each side of the stage. Each accountant has one.
So that wherever the presenter is coming from, they have quick access to one.
Why was there an envelope that had the wrong name in it?
So here it is. So Cullinan had the Best Actress envelope. DiCaprio came on from the opposite side of the stage, so Martha Ruiz, the other accountant, gave him the envelope for Best Actress. Protocol states that as soon as the presenter has their envelope, the accountant that has the other envelope is supposed to get rid of that envelope, put it back in the briefcase, and not hold it anymore. But Cullinan was so busy backstage not doing his job that he was still holding the Best Actress envelope. So when Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway got the envelope, he gave them the Best Actress envelope, which he should have gotten rid of by then. And what was so funny was that even afterwards, Cullinan was still saying it was Dunaway's fault.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. He couldn't even own it.
And although what we learn if you read the piece, I encourage everybody to look at this piece. It's hilarious. Is that two things? Brian Cullinan got everything he deserved, and B, Faye Dunaway is still an impossible human being.
Yes.
That I believe.
Well, I was actually recently rereading some of the coverage of this, and my favorite person in the whole thing is Gary Natoli, the stage manager. because like you'll see him sometimes, like, because he also does like the Emmys all the time. He is like a veteran pro at this. And I reading about how he's trying to get Kimmel sit next to Matt Damon so they can close the show out with a bit, and he's getting something over his headphones from the assistant stage manager saying they read the name wrong. They read the wrong thing apparently. What's really crazy about this also is that Cullinan had been warned about this kind of thing before. He had been flagged for this kind of thing before for not being the most professional with this.
What I find the other takeaway that I took from this particular excerpt is the real hero of this was not just Gary Natoli, but the real hero was Warren Beatty. Afterwards,
he held on to that thing.
He did not let go of that envelope. People wanted to look at it, and he's like, nope. I'm not giving it to you. The only one person is getting this envelope, and that's Barry Jenkins. And Barry Jenkins has it, and it's framed in his house.
Wow.
Good for him. Wow.
Another envelope is on display at the Academy Museum, though.
This was supposed to be impossible. PricewaterhouseCoopers are supposed to be beyond reproach. That could never be.
What, like 7 decades without incident?
Well, and they didn't count on one of them sort of being a starfucker backstage.
That's the problem. And I mean, us at Gold Derby know that better than anyone else, and how, like, you cannot be a celebrity whore in this business. You have to do your job. And this guy, I'm sorry, but I mean, he created something that we will talk about for decades to come. It was so fun to watch. But
this will be the top of the man's obit.
Yeah. And I kind of even feel slightly sorry for him, because it was a moment of weakness, and it kind of, we've all been there and done that, got the t-shirt. But I cannot wait to read this book. I didn't know it was coming out. Tony mentioned it to me last week, and I looked it up, and I'm like figuring out how I can get a copy on Amazon, because I really, really want to read it. I love
it looks great.
The old Damien Bonar, the books that he wrote called Inside Oscar. I wrote 2 volumes of it. I read that cover to cover and over again. So I'm totally invested in this. You remember when Steve Pond used to have the yearly kind of backstage article, really long comprehensive article about what was going on? Like, I used to just eat those up. I remember writing to Steve Pond as a young'un and saying, "Hey, Steve, you're an amazing writer. I love reading your stuff." So, like, bring it on. I can't wait to read it.
Well, and just so you know, in terms of what else is included in the book, they also include the active campaign that went on against Citizen Kane during that Oscar year, the Shakespeare in Love Best Picture campaign, and there is an afterword that mentions the slap. So February 21st, wherever you get your books.
Can't wait.
We're not being paid to promote this book. I just think it's a book that's worth reading.
They could have several Harvey Weinstein chapters in it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That man's got enough chapters of his own.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And that's just for court transcripts.
That's right. Oh,
so,
can't wait.
I don't think the man's ever getting out of jail at this point.
No.
No, the only way he's coming out of a jail is in a hearse.
It's true.
No doubt that
with big printing on the body bag that says "The End."
Yeah.
Property of Bob W.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yet he'll still probably submit himself for Oscar consideration.
Yeah.
So Judi Dench will play the casket.
Yeah. Yes, she will, and she will do so well. She will probably get nominated for it.
She'll deserve
the
it
next year.
Was that all the?
That was it. And that is this week's news.
There's one other
week in news. Got.
Finally, after what feels like eons of waiting, we have a date for season 3 of Ted Lasso.
Yes.
Oh,
finally. I have been so irritable about this. And I'm usually irritable about a lot of things, but this is one that I've been particularly irritable about. Like, whenever I see whenever Apple would pop up on my Twitter feed with one of their ads showing the past 2 seasons of Ted Lasso, I'd reply to it, season 3 date now.
Yeah.
Our long international nightmare is over.
I know, right? Everybody stop crying, stop wailing, stop throwing yourself on the rocks. It's happening. Ted Lasso's coming back. You know, I wrote.
It looks like because they go week to week with that show, and
Yeah.
it looks like it's going to be wrapping up right when Emmy season, right when Emmy voting is probably going to start.
I'm already predicting it. We're not talking about Emmys much today, but I'm already saying that's winning. I'm not making that mistake again. That's winning comedy.
I would like to remind the Apple people, because some of them we know actually, that even after everybody else on Gold Derby couldn't wait to start switching to Abbott Elementary or Hacks, I kept Ted Lasso in that top spot. I never turned away from it. And
Yes,
or what about The Bear, the comedy that's not a comedy?
that should be in drama.
the comedy, depending on who
There's
you
no
talk to,
question. I am the lone voice. Now I have a second voice. Thank you, Rob. In the wilderness that says this is not fun. This show has no comedy in it, and it is in the comedy category just because of its length. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and Poker Face should be in comedy, not drama. Like they should swap.
Poker Face should absolutely be in comedy because I haven't watched the new episode yet, but dear God, I want to campaign for Judith Light to win Guest Actress. She's so good in episode 5. I was talking to my mom. She didn't even realize it was Judith Light.
She's great.
She didn't realize it was her. I also read that there was a mini because Reed Birney was also in that episode. It was a little reunion for them from the menu, and also Esapay the Murkerson in that episode. She's great.
And like Chloe Sevigny's in episode 3, she's fantastic as well. They're all going to
Howery in episode 3 is really
oh my God, so good. But they're going to have to fight it out against Nick Offerman and Melanie Linsky from The Last of Us. And then I was even thinking, I know we're going off topic here, but this morning, because I've obviously got mental problems, I was thinking that Last of Us could take up pretty much the whole guest acting categories, because they've got people like Anna Torv and the woman who plays the leader of the Fedra vigilante group. There's so many different people from that show that could get nominated. So I'm all over that show. We'll talk about that.
And also off topic, I believe the menu didn't get nearly enough love in awards season.
You're damn right about that. I rewatched it earlier this week.
So much. It's such a fun movie.
I adore that movie so much.
Is Poker Face for sure going to be competing in drama?
That's what it says.
That's what we have it in right now.
I know. I'm wondering if Peacock might try to submit it in comedy, but I doubt it. I doubt that they will. I mean, we could be seeing a case where, between if it stays in drama, we could see seeing 2 shows pretty much take up the whole.
And the Emmys love doing that. They do it all the time. So,
oh my God, do they ever?
This is Peacock's first real bona fide contender. Like they've had a few great shows, and I think A Friend of the Family's really good, and that could maybe do something limited. But this one is where they really need to put all their energy, and they've made a mistake putting it in drama.
Well, I think that's as good a reason as any to what's the word I'm looking for?
Transition.
Transition. Thank you.
Or segue.
Segue, transition. What other things does my thesaurus say? To our next to our main segment, which is going to be we're going to be talking about obviously tech stock futures and why poor people should be shot into space.
Hey, this is not the Ron DeSanctimonious podcast. Isn't this about?
This is. I just want less traffic in my area. That's all I want. But in all honesty, we are going to be talking about the award season this weekend. By the time you all are listening or watching this, you'll see that both Art Directors Guild, DGA, and BAFTA have already happened. So if we say something about BAFTA, do not yell at us, because I know I've done that a couple times, but we don't know what those winners are yet. But coming up next week, we have the Producers Guild of America, and we have the big one, the Screen Actors Guild Awards. So first of all, I want to go around for predictions. With Producers Guild, I just want to stick with the Best Feature Film category because I feel like that's the most prescient one in terms of what we're going with. So looking at our nominees for Best Feature Film, we have Avatar: The Way of Water, Banshees of Inisherin, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Glass Onion, Elvis, Tar, The Whale, and I think I named all of them, right? I think that was all.
I think that's all of them.
Yes. So I'm going to start with you, Ray, since you are our most senior writer here at Gold Derby. Who do you have winning Best Feature in that category?
Right now, I have Everything Everywhere All at Once. I keep going back and forth, just because I feel like Everything Everywhere has lost a little bit of juice over the last month and a half. I feel like Michelle Yeoh has gained, but the picture itself may have lost. Right now, I have Everything Everywhere, The Fabelmans, Elvis, Top Gun Maverick, and Banshees of Inisherin as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I don't know, and this is off topic. I don't know if you've been following the fact that it seems like Top Gun Maverick has really been ascendant in terms of buzz, in terms of votes, it seems, possibly for Oscars and probably for Producers Guild as well. So I'm sticking with Everything Everywhere All at Once for right now, but that could change in the next 15 minutes. And it's a good field of movies. I would say 3 or 4 of these could very well win. I think The Fabelmans could end up surprising a lot of people, even though it's fallen from favor to some degree since its premiere, since its first few months of buzz. It seems to have, taken a little bit of a dive. But yeah, and Elvis too, everyone that I haven't met anyone who's seen Elvis who didn't love it and who didn't love Austin Butler's performance. But that's why they do these awards, because we don't know them in advance and it's fun to handicap them. So right now I'm putting Everything Everywhere still number 1.
What about you, Rob?
Okay, so like I agree with Ray. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is probably the safe bet for now. But I am very much in the camp of Top Gun Maverick could actually do this, and even at the Oscars, I feel like there's a slightly Coda-ish push for like the passion behind Top Gun. Obviously, they're very different films, and one of them's a small film, and one of them's a huge blockbuster, but everybody seems to love Top Gun Maverick. And remember, this is a preferential ballot, just like Best Picture at the Oscars. And you just need a lot of passion, and I think I'm just playing devil's advocate. I can't imagine there'll be many people putting Top Gun Maverick right down the bottom of their list, because it's a really fun movie. Spielberg came out the other day and said Tom Cruise basically saved the world of cinema and life as we know it as human beings. Tom Cruise comes out at the Oscar luncheon and is treated like a rock star, which... Yeah,
did you hear that? Did you hear that? That
he's
basically he walked in the room and everyone just lost their lunch.
Yeah,
literally lost their lunch over Cruise, that he would deign them with his presence.
And he has, maybe he's got a slight reputation for being difficult. I think it's more he's a perfectionist, and his movies are so damn good, and he has just not really put out a shitty movie in such a long time, and he doesn't do a lot of press.
The Mummy.
Okay, but fine. But I just feel like this could be the one. This could be a movie where Hollywood says, you know what? We love Everything Everywhere All at Once, and we're going to give it a bunch of trophies, including perhaps Michelle Yeoh, but we are really, really rooting for this kind of film. We want to make more of this really fun, smart, compelling blockbusters like Top Gun Maverick. So I feel like it could probably win here. And if it does, what the sound you'll hear is all the bloggers across the world, and most likely, and especially LA, changing their predictions to Top Gun Maverick at the Oscars. But at the moment I have Everything Everywhere, but I'm pretty sure that before the PGA, I'm just going to change it, because I don't really care if I'm the last in predictions. I just really love going out there on a limb, and I think that's probably what I'm going to do. So that's what we both did with Andrea Riseborough.
And it paid off. You and I were the only ones.
Just you and me, man. It's just you and me
Maybe.
riding off into the sunset.
The only thing I strive for in my predictions is to beat Rob. So, that's it.
You usually do, so it doesn't matter.
Tony, what about you? What are you thinking of through this?
Well, I think you guys are just, sitting on it for too long, because I've already put Top Gun Maverick as my number one.
Okay.
You're always ahead of the game.
Putting us to shame.
And for the very reason of what you guys said, Steven Spielberg basically anointed Tom Cruise at the Oscars luncheon, and everybody saw it and everybody read about it. And, this could lead into a much longer discussion about what, Top Gun Maverick means for the future of cinema in person. But for the sake of what we're talking about right now, I think that this is a big hug to the guy that to the film that basically brought people back to the cinema in a big, unprecedented way. He sat on this movie for a year and a half and would not, and when he was facing all sorts of pressure to put it on streaming, he said, no, this film will not go to streaming. This film will only be in the theaters. And so that's why I think that it's probably going to do very well here. And the thing that I've always thought about Everything Everywhere, which I will admit, my own bias, I was not a huge fan of. But a lot of people said that the minute Everything Everywhere All at Once got the most nominations at the Oscars, that it suddenly became the front runner. That rule hasn't been true for a long time now. So I think with Everything Everywhere All at Once, yes, that film has its passionate supporters. It also has people who go, hot dogs on fingers? What are we doing here? Who, is it going to be universally the film that the most voters put as their 1 or 2 or even 3? I think that the preferential ballot could actually hurt Everything Everywhere. And I think it could actually help something like Banshees of Inisherin. So I've actually got Everything Everywhere at number 2, but I've got Banshees at number 3, because that just seems to be, I don't know anybody who doesn't love that film, who doesn't just go, I really, really love this film. And let's face it, the idea that there is, there used to be, particularly in the 90s and early 2000s, there was the typical Oscar picture, the big sprawling film, or the one that was the most original. And then, in recent years, there's been films that maybe are just a little quieter, that are a little more, introspective. And I think Banshees does that. So I'm not saying that Everything Everywhere All at Once can't win, but I'm giving the edge to Top Gun because I think it's peaking at just the right time.
And Charlie, before you jump in, I just wanted to jump in and say, building on what you were just saying, Tony, I think there's also a lot of love, not just for Tom Cruise, but for Jerry Bruckheimer, who has
that was seeing him in that Oscar photo. It's like, oh yeah, there's a guy who's been around for a while,
who has never really gotten his due for being such a blockbuster producer for so long. And I feel like this could be a kind of a big hug for him too.
It's interesting, you say all this stuff about Top Gun Maverick, but I think to myself, when I'm looking at these nominees, couldn't you also say the same thing about Avatar, The Way of Water, the way it put butts in seats, and it's looking like it, and I think it's already become, is it official now that it's the biggest grossing movie of all time now?
Worldwide, I think.
Worldwide.
Yeah. No doubt, any minute.
We've all made James Cameron a little bit richer. And it feels kind of like if not, if you're looking, if that's an attitude you have, why not have it about Avatar? I think the difference is that Top Gun has that kind of celebrity producer in Tom Cruise.
I think the other thing, but I also think the thing that hurts Avatar is that Avatar's already been in this position once before with the original Avatar, and it didn't win then either.
True.
And there's not as much love for James Cameron, period. There just isn't.
And there's not as much love for the film overall. Yeah, it's put butts in seats for the spectacle, but critically, certainly Top Gun was much better received just in terms of reviews and things like that.
like the critical praise for Top Gun Maverick really surprised me, and then it kept getting nominated at various critics organization groups and precursors. And so, guys, sometimes when we talk about the PGA, we do sometimes gravitate towards what we think they love blockbusters, and we all do this, and they do. But if you look at the last few winners, they're not blockbusters. They're Coda, Nomadland. Okay, 1917 was a bit more of an action film, but that wasn't really a blockbuster. Green Book, Shape of Water, La La Land, Big Short, Birdman, like they're the winners from the Producers Guild over the last few years. They just love the passion. And the passion is with Everything Everywhere All at Once, with Banshees, and with Top Gun Maverick. I don't see a lot of passion for Fabelmans. I think that's more of a out of respect for Steven Spielberg. That's just what I think. I could be wrong. And maybe Elvis for some of the Steak Eaters. So what do you guys think? Like, this is a tough one because whatever wins, we're all going to make an argument. But
before you rudely interrupted me, Rob.
Okay.
Actually, I think I rudely interrupted you, and then he interrupted me.
Yes.
We'll just shift all that blame to Rob. The one that I actually, and I part of me is just thinking, what the hell, why not? I have Elvis at my number one slot right now, and I kind of feel like I don't know if I could bring myself to actually change it. I mean, I might.
Don't.
It's one that's like it's one of those things where that it's what is that consensus going to be, and I just have no clue.
Elvis is so popular. The Australian Academy, by the way, thanks you. But Elvis is so beloved by a certain demographic, and in fact, a very wide demographic. A broad spectrum of people love that movie. Whether you love Elvis, the actual performer, the whole mythology around Graceland, or whether you just love this movie because it's a Basmark production. It's got Austin Butler, who does a beautiful performance as Elvis. The whole cast is great. The music, the production design. That could absolutely take this out. It's a very popular movie. Anyone who doesn't think so is probably not listening. So, Charlie, I think you should leave it there. Leave it.
Yeah, this is one where I feel like we could get a real curveball. And we'll just send this race into absolute chaos.
And that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
The one mark against Everything Everywhere All at Once is that there are a lot of people that said they liked it that didn't like it as much as they claimed to, because a lot of people were confused by it and not as into it. And I feel like that could come out in once they're voting and no one's watching. I think there's kind of a closet anti against that film more than any other film.
But it's so off the wall. It's so beautifully made. And of course we could talk about all its great qualities, but I have heard a lot of people say I really think that movie's really lovely, but I didn't really love it like a lot of people suggesting. Tony says that all the time, and he's right.
My favorite film is not even nominated for a PGA. My favorite film of the year, which was All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, that's
phenomenal. And I think BAFTA had the right idea about that film.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that win. And also, guys, I was thinking maybe a slight hesitation I have with Top Gun Maverick, which is why I haven't done it yet, but I will, is because I don't know whether this even matters, but it didn't quite do as well at the Oscars as I thought it would have. Yes, it got the screenplay nomination, but it didn't get Joe Kosinski in director, it didn't get Tom Cruise in actor, and it didn't get cinematography. And I just feel like
that was the biggest voting blocks.
Yeah, big shock. Different voting blocks, but does it maybe suggest a bit of like jealousy? I don't know, like what's going on with the producers? Are they going to be all over this, or are they going to be like, you got your big success, but we're going to give this to the more artistic choice?
Well, here's where I think. I never bought the Tom Cruise getting into Best Actor thing. I thought that was a ridiculous notion. Mm-hmm. But what I think, and I think the shocking one is the cinematography snub.
Of Top Gun, yeah, sense.
And I do think that whoever wins PGA, I don't think it's necessarily going to tell us. I don't think the winner of PGA is necessarily going to automatically, like, if Top Gun wins PGA, I'm not going to switch at the Oscars just yet. I would really have to think about it. But I think that for right now, at this moment, and with this core group of people, with this guild that is so much about, cinema, and let's face it, producers have a financial stake in butts in the seats at the box office, and I think no film had as big of an impact as Top Gun did, in a way that nobody expected a sequel to a 35-year-old movie would do this. Especially since the first one, was not, I mean, let's face facts. The first one is kind of like this, kind of macho, self
Rah, rah,
pleasure,
America.
rah, look at how awesome and manly I am. And that's what this film is too. The fact that this film did so well with such a broad spectrum of people, I think that right now it's peaking at just the right time for this particular award. I don't know that it's going to translate to the Oscars, because we do have BAFTA tomorrow, and BAFTA could lead us in a whole nother direction. But for this guild of producers, I think it's the passion pick.
All right. Well,
Interesting to see.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. So now we're going to transfer over to the SAG Awards. We're going to start with TV, and we're going to start with probably the people that probably worked the hardest, our TV stunt ensemble. Our nominees are Andor, The Boys, House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, and Stranger Things.
I think House of the Dragon. I feel like House of the Dragon is going to start getting a lot of love, and it it's following so closely in the footsteps of its predecessor of Game of Thrones. I feel like it's going to continue in that same kind of vein, and do well in stunts. And when you watch it, it's all so seamless and so beautifully done.
Rob?
Yeah, I agree. I think Game of Thrones did quite well in this category in the past, and if not House of the Dragon, I would say Andor, but I think this one's pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I'm House of the Dragons as well. I've got The Boys in second, only for hopeful purposes.
I have Andor at number 1. I think I'm going to keep it there because I'm the iconoclast. I'm the rebel, baby.
You and Elvis, man.
That's right.
I hope you're right.
That's right. Moms don't want their sons to bring me home to dinner.
No thanks.
Mainly because I eat everything. TV movie mini actress. Our nominees are Emily Blunt for The English, Jessica Chastain for George and Tammy, Julia Garner for Inventing Anna, Niecy Nash Betts for Monster, Jeffrey Dahmer Story, and Amanda Seyfried for The Dropout. Right?
I know Amanda is probably the favorite. I like Niecy. I feel like I just watched a few episodes of Dahmer again, and she is so good. She's just such a perfect counterpoint to the chilling sort of overmodulation of Evan Peters. I feel like she's the one to beat here, and I feel like she's it's a great group of actresses, but I think she stands out. And she already won. I think she won at Critics' Choice, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think and Amanda, did Amanda also win? She won at something.
And she won the Globe too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this is going to be Niecy's race.
Okay. I think Amanda will just win this by default. The SAG voters tend to do that sometimes. Niecy's probably in second though. They're both probably really happy that Jennifer Coolidge is not in the category anymore.
My God, she wins everything.
Yeah.
And she's so entertaining while winning.
Oh, absolutely.
Tony?
I still loved her Emmy acceptance speech. Is still my favorite of the year. Same. Where she started dancing to the playoff music.
I'm going with Amanda. I've got Niecy in second.
I'm also going with Amanda. I think this is going to be an easy triple victory, triple crown
So
victory.
I'm the iconoclast this time.
Yes.
You are.
That's right. Okay. TV movie mini actor nominees are Steve Carell for The Patient, Taron Egerton for Blackbird, Sam Elliott for 1883, Evan Peters for Monster, Jeffrey Dahmer Story, and Paul Walter Hauser for Blackbird.
I like Evan here, even though I think Paul Walter Hauser is a very strong second and could pull it off. But everyone was so repulsed by the very idea of a Jeffrey Dahmer miniseries, and but it was so well done. And if I can use the term tastefully done, where you didn't really see any of the deaths or anything else, you just heard noises. And Evan is so good. He's just chilling, powerful, intense. I think he's already won. He already won an Emmy, did he not?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
the Emmy was for Mayor of Easttown.
For Mayor of Easttown, yeah. And I think he's going to end up winning the Emmy for this too. But I think first he's going to win the SAG.
Yeah, I agree. I think he will win. I think Paul Walter Hauser and Taron Egerton both being in the category is the dreaded vote split will slightly disadvantage them. And yeah, I don't think this is really even a race, to be honest.
Yep, Peters.
I have Peters. I'd watch out for Steve Carell, though.
I'd love that.
Sometimes they just like there are certain people they just like, and I have a feeling like they might do that for him. But I still have my money on Evan Peters as well.
Yeah.
TV comedy actress. We got Christina Applegate for Dead to Me, Rachel Brosnahan for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Quinta Brunson for Abbott Elementary, Jenna Ortega for Wednesday, and Jean Smart for Hacks.
Tough race. Any of these five could win. I really think, but I think there's going to be, in part because of her health issues with MS and such, and because she's long overdue for some recognition from one of these award shows and one of the ceremonies, I think it's going to be Christina. I think Quinta could win, but Quinta's also gotten a lot of love already from a lot of different places. And I think Jenna Ortega is a year away, as great as she is on Wednesday. And Jean Smart's already been honored, so I feel like that leaves Christina.
I feel like they could absolutely just go back to the well on Jean Smart. Like, she just keeps winning, although Quinta Brunson has finally broken through that. But I agree. I think Christina Applegate might actually have this, and I really hope she does. Why not? Let's mix it up a little. And Christina Applegate, it's just heartbreaking to see what she has gone through health-wise.
Oh my God,
the
poor woman.
Manifesting this.
Yeah, I might switch to Applegate because the SAGs have proven to be a rather sentimental bunch. I mean, they gave Betty White 2 consecutive awards in this category for Hot in Cleveland when she was kind of at her peak, and I can see them doing it. I have Quinta right now, but I might switch to Christina.
I am going to stick with Quinta Brunson because this run is reminding me a lot of 30 Rock. And a lot of time, and sometimes specifically in this category, SAG does like the creator actress combo. We saw it with Tina Fey, we saw it with Phoebe Waller-Bridge for the Fleabag, and I'm going to stick with Quinta Brunson. I feel like she's this is going to be an easy win for her, especially because she has none of her castmates are up against her.
Have you no heart?
No.
The poor woman has MS.
No. Ask my cardiologist. I don't have one.
Okay, good.
Yeah. TV comedy actor. We have Anthony Carrigan for Barry, Bill Hader for Barry, Steve Martin for Only Murders in the Building, Martin Short for Only Murders in the Building, and Jeremy Allen White for the hilarious comedy The Bear.
I think it's going to be Jeremy. He's already won a few of these things at different ceremonies, and as unfunny as he is, he's a great actor and incredibly intense. And this is such a unique and beautifully shot show. I love The Bear. It just isn't a comedy, but if you forget the fact it's TV comedy actor and you just called it TV actor, he would very much he would absolutely deserve the win, and I think he'll get it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this is really a
He's
race.
the
Two
it boy
Barry-
now.
Yeah, he's the it boy. 2 Barrys, 2 only murders. That helps him as well. Yeah, but this, yeah, I don't even think there's a discussion to be had. I think he's winning.
I think so too. Although I have the spoiler to be Anthony Carrigan, mainly just because I like to be contrarian, but also he's literally the funniest. He's what makes Barry a comedy.
He's so good.
And the fact that he even got in here over Henry Winkler tells me something. So, but I have Jeremy winning.
I also have Jeremy winning. And I just echo everything you said there, Tony. I also have Anthony Carrigan as number 2. Because that would make me so happy. He's not just what makes that show funny. He especially in this 3rd season, he is the heart of that show.
He is the heart.
And of a show that is so hard to find a heart for sometimes, but man,
I was going to say it is about a hitman.
Yeah, but I mean, he's always nailed it, and I love that he's got 2 Emmy nominations under his belt. And hopefully, if the show continues, or when the show continues, we'll get some more. But yeah, I think Jeremy's got this. TV comedy ensemble. We have Abbott Elementary, Barry, The Bear, Hacks, and Only Murders in the Building.
I think this is going to be Abbott Elementary. It deserves it. It's such a great ensemble. So much talent. Quinta Brunson, Janelle James, Howard James Williams. It's a terrific ensemble. And if The Bear wins comedy ensemble, I'm going to go out of the predictions business. Because wow, those hilarious guys on that show, they're not, I mean, Io Abediri is the only exception, the only close to a comedic performance that we get in the show.
I think Richie is hysterical. He makes me laugh at how stupid he is.
Ibon Moss Bacharach, yeah, he's really fun.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, I guess so.
To its
He's
credit,
very
it
over
is
the
a
top.
fantastic ensemble.
It is.
It is.
It's just calling it a comedy ensemble.
Yeah.
But in any case, I think it's going to be Abbott.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see how anything can take down Abbott Elementary when it comes to its ensemble.
Yeah, same thing, Abbott.
I love all of these. I think all of these nominees have impeccable ensembles. I really love this category. But it's to me, it's no question. It's Abbott. Abbott is at its what could be its peak popularity right now. It's at the right show at the right time. It's got it. TV drama actress. We have Jennifer Coolidge for The White Lotus Sicily, Elizabeth Debicki for The Crown, Julia Garner for Ozark, Laura Linney for Ozark, and Zendaya for Euphoria.
Well, it's
Easy.
not a typical.
Here's a question. Let me ask a question. Is anybody not predicting Jennifer Coolidge?
No, Zendaya is the only one I think that would have a chance besides her. But even though she's always switching genres here, from limited to drama, it's impossible to, until she loses one of these, it's impossible to bet against her.
Yeah, that's right. Although, what a category. Wow.
Yeah,
so good.
There's some amazing talent.
Normally, Zendaya would be winning this in a heartbeat like she usually does, but Jennifer Coolidge, she's it right now. And what's interesting to me is that this is a slightly comedic performance, so that could work in comedy, to be completely 100% honest. And just out of interest, the Aussie Academy nominates White Lotus in its comedy categories. I think a couple of other groups do, so because it kind of meshes genres. I just found that quite interesting. But yeah, she's winning this in a heartbeat, I think.
Agreed.
The gays they're trying to murder her is going to take this home. I mean, how could it not?
Yeah.
The gays are giving her an Emmy and a SAG award.
The gays have been her fan base from before all of this. We have been with her for years. TV drama actor Jason Bateman for Ozark, Jonathan Banks for Better Call Saul, Jeff Bridges for The Old Man, Bob Odenkirk for Better Call Saul, and Adam Scott for Severance.
I feel like this is, well, obviously this is the last chance for Better Call Saul for Odenkirk. Um, I've predicted this before, and I'm going to go down with the ship and predict him one last time. I feel like he's got to, at some point, it's just getting embarrassing. They just have to fucking do it and give him one of these. And I don't think this is not a strong enough category to think that any of the others necessarily has it over him. As much as I love Jonathan Banks, not his year. I think it's Odenkirk's year.
Okay, so I am going to be the iconoclast because I think Adam Scott's going to win this. I just have this feeling that Severance is really respected by the actors, and I just think the two Better Call Sauls, although Bob Odenkirk will get most of the votes for the BCS lovers, I feel like Adam Scott's going to take this out in a bit of a surprise.
I'm sticking with Odenkirk. I've got Jeff Bridges in second, but Odenkirk, again, this is where I think sentiment plays a real role here.
Yeah, I'm also going with Odenkirk. I feel like this is probably the best chance he has, absent whatever may happen in September with the Emmys. I really think like it makes sense to me. The weird thing about Adam Scott is part of me is thinking I would have expected maybe, I might be predicting Adam Scott if like Patricia Arquette had gotten into the TV drama actress category. I was about to say, well, what if like John Turturro or Christopher Walken had gotten in, but that would take up spots in that same category. I keep forgetting because SAG television does not have supporting categories for some godforsaken reason.
So dumb.
But I do see the way the logic that could get you to Adam Scott, but I'm sticking with Odenkirk on this one.
I think that's smart.
Yep. Drama ensemble: Better Call Saul, The Crown, Ozark, Severance, and The White Lotus, Sicily.
It's a very tough category. It's a stacked category.
Yeah.
And I think White Lotus is what I have on top, but that could change between now and before the SAGs. I could switch to Severance. But at the moment, I just think White Lotus is Sicily has got all the momentum from all the shows leading up to this, and it's gonna carry it through.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I mean, it's such a great ensemble. Although, yeah, this category is so stacked. I can see an argument for Severance. The Crown usually does really well here, although I just feel like that show's slightly fallen off the radar a bit. Ozark's last chance, Better Call Saul's last chance, there could be some sentiment, but I think The White Lotus, Sicily just blew people away. The acting in that is just incredible, and we get to see some really, really amazing Italian actors actually take home an actor up. That really makes me happy too.
Agreed. I've got White Lotus.
I also think, White Lotus, it is, to me, of these 5 programs, it is the most ensemble show with type of ensemble cast. One I got to keep my eye out for, though, is Ozark. This is a show that they have really like. They've given Jason Bateman a couple wins here, and and it has the most nominations of these shows. It has 2 in TV actress and 1 in drama actor. So I wouldn't count that one out. Maybe I may have to move it up to number 2, but I'm sticking with White Lotus, Sicily on this one. Okay. All right, now we're going to be transitioning over to film. Our apologies. Rob Licuria had to depart because he has a family or something. Like, that's an excuse, but he
was just humiliated at the lack of things that he had to say about the previous nominees.
Exactly.
So he had to bury his head in shame.
He had to literally go outside and stick his head in the sand. So now we are at the film categories. So we're going to start it off. Best film stunt ensemble. We have Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman. I always think of that in Heath Ledger's voice. The Batman. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Top Gun: Maverick, and The Woman King. Ray, what's that?
I liked Top Gun Maverick for this. There were some amazing stunts in that film. So there was some amazing choreography too, despite what the Oscar voters believed. But no, I think stunt ensemble is Top Gun. You could make a case for any of these 5, but I think they put the most money and pizzazz into the stunts for that film, and it's going to pay off.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think Top Gun has it. I don't even think it's really that close.
No.
Yeah, I have Top Gun in my number one slot. Interestingly, though, in number two, I do have The Woman King. Yeah,
Oh, that's a great choice.
yeah. But I do think it's one of it's the stunt one. The stunt categories is always one where it's always really just sometimes a roll of the dice. You know, you never know where the attitudes of the voters doing this are going to line up. But I think Top Gun Maverick is pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think there's safe bets in our next two categories as well.
We'll see. Film supporting actor. We have Paul Dano for The Fabelmans, Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Eddie Redmayne. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know.
I think it's just Ed Ray. Oh, yeah.
Redmayne?
You're joking.
Redmayne? I don't know. Eddie Redmayne for The Good Nurse.
Well, I don't think that you can say. I think you've got to go with Paul Dano here. And no, I'm kidding. Sorry. Ke Huy Quan, if he loses, then the Earth stops spinning on its axis, or it starts going in the other direction. I think he's pretty much the only lock that you can see for every award show going forward. Every award show being the SAGs and the Oscars. He's so good, and he's such a great comeback story, and all of the great stuff he has said in his acceptance speeches and the previous wins leading up to this all point to him being unbeatable.
Yeah, I think all future references to the supporting actor category at every award show going forward is just going to be a mention of Key, because of all the things Ray said. He's got the narrative, he's got the performance, and he's knocked it out of the park. He's just somebody you just want to give a hug to. So I think he's going all the way.
Charming. He's so damn charming and likable.
And I think, they're going to change the name of the category going forward to Best Imitation of Ke Huy Quan. Even in subsequent years, that's what it will be.
And I'm with you on that. I mean, Ke Huy Quan, I think, has got this. It doesn't even merit talking about what's number two. He is so far ahead out in this, and he's probably one of the only category. He's the only acting category I feel is really locked for this season.
Completely.
On to our more volatile categories. We have film supporting actress. We have Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Hong Chow for The Whale, Kerry Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Well, I've gone back and forth a little bit, but I've landed ultimately on Angela Bassett just because she's got, as Tony would say, the sentimental vote for sure. She seems to have that. Although one could make a sentimental choice for Jamie Lee Curtis as well, and they're clearly 1-2. The question is which is one and which is two. Jamie Lee, actually, I attended the AARP Movies for Grown-Ups Awards, and she was the Lifetime Achievement winner, and she gave such a lovely speech. And I wonder if there are a lot of SAG voters in that audience who heard it, because she was so terrific and so charming. But I still feel like this is Angela Bassett's year, and I think there's a little embarrassment possibly in the Screen Actors Guild that she hasn't really been honored since What's Love Got to Do with It, and that's on them.
Yeah, and What's Love Got to Do with It? There wasn't even a SAG award at that time.
Exactly.
Yeah, I actually, the only area where I disagree with you is in that I think this is a lock. I don't think there's any. I think this is Angela Bassett's year. I think at SAG
Could be.
This is where she is a lock. I'm not going to say that she's a lock at the Oscars. I think she's a strong front runner at the Oscars, but I think here at SAG, they're far more sentimental and they're far more narrative driven. And I think she is so overdue. And she's, again, knocked it out of the park at every place she's won thus far and gotten standing ovations and so on and
And
so
I think
forth.
there was a little surprise, Tony. Don't you think going into
Oh, I
awards?
don't think I think what started this train was the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
I think that's what started this train, and we see it happen every so often. You know, sometimes there's Kerry Condon has kind of been the critics' favorite, or you've seen Jamie Lee Curtis or Stephanie Hsu or somebody else show up in supporting actor. You saw Keke Palmer show up at a couple of critics awards, but once the ball got rolling at Golden Globes, nobody has wanted to derail this, and so, hey, if anybody's going to make history as the first actor from a Marvel film to earn a performance, I mean, basically Heath Ledger did it with DC with the Joker. So, you know, Angela Bassett's the perfect person to do it.
You know, and I also think it's sorry to interrupt, Charlie.
No, it's all right.
Say, I feel like, and this may be controversial to say, but the fact that both of them are, you know, performers of different race of color, helps them a lot and makes them locks, because I think SAG is even possibly at least equally conscious about appearing too white to as the Oscars.
Yeah. It's interesting to add on to that. You know, they were the one major precursor that went for Halle Berry the year that she won for Monsters Ball. Sissy Spacek had been dominating everything. And the only one who had the only other person who won anything else was Nicole Kidman at the Globes for Moulin Rouge. But SAG went with Halle Berry, and that ended up being the most press, and that ended up being what carried the day on that one. You know, they've also been very fond of going with, you know, other times like having this penchant for going for overdue performers that haven't gotten their just recognition. I think of like
Ruby
the Ruby Dee win for American Gangster. We all know that, although that is, for me, that's the original The Slap. You know, that is the original The Slap for me, because that, and the way, like, you don't slap Denzel Washington and not get rewarded for it. Okay.
That's true.
But I am on the same train as, I think I'm on the same boat as you guys. I don't think if there is going to be anywhere that derails it, it will be BAFTA, not SAG. SAG feels like this, even like if she had lost the Golden Globe, this feels like SAG is just a ripe place for them to reward her. And I think she's going to win that one fairly easily.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Jamie Lee's got a chance at the Oscars, but it's still probably going to be Angela.
Yeah.
And deservedly so.
Film actor: Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Bill Nye for Living, and Adam Sandler for Hustle.
Especially after his Critics' Choice Awards acceptance speech, which I think really helped him. Well, Brendan Fraser just seemed like a raw nerve all through awards season, like he's been on the verge of tears. And I don't say that derisively. I think when I watched the Whale, I was incredibly moved. Part of, you know, I wrote a piece actually for Gold Derby about this, that I actually had a brother who was morbidly obese, who died in 1973 of a heart attack at age 17. And I, he was over 300 pounds, and I had a personal, you know, almost just a personal reaction to it. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that maybe I'm not even, you know, I'm not a disinterested sort of just predictor on this one. I have almost a personal stake in Brendan's candidacy. But I just think he's so good. This is the only year where I think Austin Butler could lose, because of Brendan Fraser. Otherwise, we know how much SAG and the Film Academy love iconic musical performers and the actors who impersonate them. It has happened time after time, but I just think Brendan Fraser turns in such a powerful performance in this film, and he's such a great redemption story. Just like Ke Kwan, but even more so, that he was so dismissed for so long as kind of a hack performer when it wasn't really true. But I think it's going to really. I can't see SAG giving it to anyone but him.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on this one. This is one of those cases where I think one of the things we've seen in recent years with a lot of the different guilds and the Oscars and things like that is that there are trends, and then there are narratives that break trends. That is the Whale the most critically beloved film? No. There are some people who are very actively against that film, but I don't think there's anybody that's actively against Brendan Fraser. I think his narrative, the comeback narrative, and just how authentic and real and emotional he's been throughout the season, I think really helps him. The thing, and what I'm about to say might sound controversial, but I think Austin Butler has a problem, and that is there has been so much focus after he won the Golden Globe. A lot of the coverage about it and a lot of the coverage since has focused not on his performance, but on his voice. And the fact that his voice has not, that he still kind of has that.
But he still sounds like Elvis.
That he still sounds like Evans when he's talking. And there was even a piece I read the other day where somebody asked, I think, Angela Bassett about it. And she said, at some point, you got to let that go. It's starting to feel to me like it's like when Lady Gaga was like campaigning for House of Gucci and she talked about how like she didn't break character for a year and a half. That doesn't exactly endear you to voters. Sometimes it sounds pretentious. And so I think Butler runs the risk of some people not necessarily responding. I think I've got him in second. I think he could win. But I think Fraser has the more compelling narrative and the performance to back it up.
Yeah. And yeah, you didn't see him walking around being 600 pounds for the last year and a half.
I will. When I saw The Whale at the Millburg Film Festival, I was. It affected me very much. Being both a gay man and also a heavier gay man as well. And I was by the end of that movie, I was sobbing, and it was interesting. Variety Awards editor Clayton Davis and his wife were in the row in front of me, a couple seats down to my left. And Clayton's wife, Jessica, who's a real sweetheart, she looked at me. She sees me like sniffling and tearing up, and she leans over to Clayton and goes, "Wow, that movie really got to Charlie." And it
got to me too.
Yeah,
I was tearing up too.
And I really feel like the performance. I see. The performance really spoke to me and really affected me. However, I feel like for some reason, I just feel like this is one where Austin Butler, I'm actually going with Austin Butler on this. I have him winning this. I think that this is just going to be one of those things where even though Elvis did not perform the way that some of us thought, I thought Tom Hanks was going to get into supporting actor here, and I thought it was going to get into ensemble as well. But I feel like this is one where he's going to edge that out. I feel like I just feel like it's going to be like a more populist choice. The one that we haven't mentioned, who I do feel still has a legitimate shot here, is Colin Farrell. I think he has a very, very good shot here. Banshees is nominated for what, 5? I think.
I think so.
It's got 5 nominations here. And we know Everything Everywhere All at Once is winning at least one of those with Ke Kwan. And so I think, Banshee, Colin Farrell is one of those. I think he's very much in this conversation. But yeah,
possibly. It's just hard for me to imagine anybody's name but Brendan Fraser coming out of the mouth of the person opening the envelope. I've gone through this back and forth many times, but yeah, I mean, and it is a 3-man race.
Yeah.
So
I think part of it for me is also that it feels like since the Oscar nominations came out and The Whale underperformed, not getting into picture or screenplay, I feel like at least my sense of it is that its momentum it's not gone off the rails, but it's stalled a bit. And so I feel like maybe that could translate here, and Butler would be the beneficiary of that.
Possibly, yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, I think I slightly disagree, because I don't think that if the Whale's momentum has stalled, I don't think Elvis's is any greater than it was before.
And Brendan's has not stalled, even while the Whale has.
Okay, well, we will see about that. It's weird that we're not in agreement, and only one of us can be right. So, battle to the death.
And now, and that's why Bill Nye will end up winning.
I will be so happy. I will be so happy if Bill Nye wins this, because I think he will just give the most bizarre, crazy acceptance speech.
Oh God, yeah,
dumbfounded, and I will be here for it. I will be here for it. Film actress: Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Viola Davis for The Woman King, Danielle Deadwyler for Till, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Wait a minute. I don't see Andrea Riseborough's name on here. Wait a minute.
Actors didn't respond to that movie from what
wait a minute. Actors didn't respond.
Frances Fisher could only do one award show.
Actors didn't respond, but the actors did do all of the campaigning for her, of course. Did you guys? This is off topic. Did you guys see To Leslie?
Yes, yeah. I watched it last weekend.
I thought she was fantastic.
She's really
It was better than the film itself.
Oh, absolutely. Part of me was also like a little miffed, like, if they're going to go bad for her, why not also, throw some love for Mark Maron? He's really good in that movie. Mark Maron is one of those people who's been delivering great performances the last several years.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. In terms of this category, though, there's a lot of firepower here, and I think it's still possible that somebody like Danielle Deadwyler could shock everyone. Probably won't happen, and I'm picking Michelle Yeoh, even though I know Cate is the safe choice. I think that there's a lot of love for Michelle, and I feel like the Ke-Huy Quan vibe is going to stretch to include the Best Actress category, and I've gone back and forth, but I think Michelle's going to take it, and I have Cate second, Danielle third, Viola fourth.
I actually think it's more daring to predict Cate Blanchett, because this is a film. This is a performer who we always expect great things from, and it would be really easy to say, okay, Cate's been rewarded enough and it's time for Michelle. And if Michelle wins, I will be thrilled, because I'm a huge Michelle Yeoh fan. But I'm still waiting to see Cate lose something. And she doesn't. She keeps winning.
Yeah, she won all the Critics Awards too. New York, LA.
And there is a passion for Tar that I think, it reminds me a little bit of when we were kind of like saying, oh yeah, Frances McDormand's not going to win Best Actress at the Oscars. She's already won twice, and she just won a few years ago. And yeah, I mean, it's been, I think, almost a decade since she won for Blue Jasmine. And people are saying this is the greatest Cate Blanchett performance from somebody who's already won 2 Oscars. I'm sticking with Cate until I see her lose something. That's been my motto all the way through the season. Until I see Cate Blanchett lose, I'm having her win everything all the way up to the Oscars.
I am also sticking with Cate Blanchett on this one. I really feel like so many people have cemented their love for this, and it feels like it's to a degree, not able to be altered on anything. Although I do think that if Michelle is that if there's any place where she would likely upset, this is probably the most likely place where she would. What I would actually love is I'm also very reluctant to pick Michelle Yeoh because she's personally the one who I would want to win, and I'm always apprehensive about predicting someone who I personally have my own personal investment in. But the weird thing is that even if Kate were to win both here and BAFTA, I could still see Michelle Yeoh possibly upset at Oscar. I
agree completely.
It feels very like this is no matter what, this is going to be a very, very tight and suspense building race until that envelope is open at the Dolby Theater.
Yeah.
And how refreshing for that to not see the same winners just steamroll through.
Well, in all fairness, we got it in this category 2 years ago. It was absolute chaos, and just like you were saying, it ended up being Francis.
Yeah,
and Anthony Hopkins. Oh my God, it's just like that year where it's like, yeah, the supporting Kate. It's like that same year. I mean, everybody knew there was going to be Daniel Kaluuya and Yo Jung Yoon. But the lead ones were the ones that were giving us agita.
I think Tony and Charlie, my view of this is probably tainted by the fact I just did not like Tar. I'm probably in the minority in that, but
I sympathize with you because I wouldn't say I didn't like it, but when I saw it and compared to especially like all my friends, what they were, especially in the film critic community and other writers.
I know they just adored it.
They were singing his praises to high end, and I'm just like, I don't get it.
No. She was just such a contemptible character, and I know that that's also a great performance. The fact that I hated her so much in the film, but it tainted my ability to like it. But let me throw out one more scenario for you guys before we move on to the last category here. What if there was the giant group of actors who got together and decided we are going to get Andrea Riseborough nominated? What if there was a similar conspiracy behind the scenes and they all said, you know what, to make up for this, we're going to all get together and pick Viola Davis, or we're going to all get together and pick
I would not put it past them. I would
Daniel Deadwyler. Wouldn't that be interesting?
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
it would be fun. I don't know that enough people. I think one of the things that hurt Daniel Deadwyler is I don't think enough people outside of critics saw Till. I think that if anybody were to be the upset, I think it would be the newest EGOT, which would be Viola Davis.
Right.
And this is a group that loves
Viola.
Right. So I could totally see that. Would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
that would be just as shocking as.
Well, she has one of my favorite. I mean, the year that she won for Ma Rainey, and she literally everything was remote then, and she's like, she did everything.
Her husband was just sitting by, didn't even flinch, and it looked like she easily could have backhanded him off of the camera. But he was stoic and just like.
Yes, very good, very good. Okay, yeah. It was this or having tea, but this is slightly better.
Yeah, I mean, she is my number 3 in the category.
Yeah,
because
mine too.
They SAG loves her, and there's some, this is just a group of actors that have always really responded to her. So
yeah, no, she's a great actress.
Never completely count her out.
Right.
And finally, best cast in a motion picture. Nominees are Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, The Fabelmans, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Something About Women Talking. Who told them they're allowed to do that? I'm sorry. That I'm gonna say that's been
women talking.
That's been my go-to.
You don't need to go to a movie theater. All you need to do is come to my house.
Please direct your tweets and emails to Charlie Bright.
I have everything everywhere all at once for this. It's a great ensemble, and although Banshees could win too, it's also a great. I mean, I think those are 1-2, as they are, I think, in the odds. I think Everything Everywhere. This is a perfect category. If they only honor Ke-Huy Quan here, this is another way to show you this was a special film and we really appreciated it, is by it winning in this category. We haven't ever talked about Babylon, and Babylon hasn't gotten much love throughout any of the award shows throughout award season. I don't know what you guys thought of it, but oh my fucking
because it's
God.
not a very good movie.
Well, it's not about whether it's a good movie
for
or a bad
me.
movie. It was just the most over-the-top, insane.
It was the most movie.
It was hedonism, the motion picture.
I was like, Paramount released this? I was just shocked that how did Damien Chazelle pull this off where they like, and they let it go for 3 hours and 20 minutes, didn't cut anything. It was just the most baffling. I mean, there were a couple great scenes. I know this is completely off topic. A couple great scenes, like the one where they're doing the first talkie under the lights and everybody's sweating and it's hot. And,
oh God, that
was a great scene. That was a great scene. There are a couple great scenes, and that party at the beginning, vomiting and pooping on each other, and oh my God, it was just
really selling it.
Or as it's known in my house, Thursday.
Thank you very much.
Again, address your tweets to Charlie Bright. I'm actually going with Banshees. I think that this was the most nominated film, and we've seen Martin McDonagh do this at SAG just recently. So I think this is the place where they're going to reward Banshees.
Yeah, I have Everything Everywhere. I think that this is one of the few places where predicting Everything Everywhere for the top award feels like a safe bet for me. I think Banshees is very much in this, but Women Talking, man, that has such an amazing ensemble.
That would be the one I would vote for.
Yeah, and it's it's one of those things like this is a category that was made for it, and if it couldn't get in here, like, what are we doing? Especially good, Ray, you and I will agree on this. The fact that the menu isn't here, that was a fantastic.
Could have been here. And you know what else was great? That didn't get any love, almost no love during award season. Keeping the women theme here, as She Said. I think She Said was a terrific film. It's a great journalism film. Every bit as good as Spotlight, that won Best Picture several years ago,
and won this award as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was highly underappreciated. But anyway, there you go. That's showbiz.
Yeah, and so I'm going to stick with Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think it feels pretty safe in this category, but yeah, I'm keeping my eye. I'm keeping my eye on Banshees, and I probably should move Women Talking up to 3, but yeah. So that's our coverage of SAG. Ray, thanks so much for joining us for this one. I assume we'll probably have you on some future episodes if we'd like you.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If the check clears.
Yeah.
I was going to say I'm going to demand a raise from my
Overlord.
zero fee to 0 again next time. So remember that.
We'll see. We'll have to see because next week we have Mike Lindell from My Pillow joining us. So we'll see how that goes. He'll be joining right here from Minnesota. Ray, where can people find you on social media and such?
I do have a Twitter. I am on Twitter as well, but I don't really follow it very. Yeah, never mind. Let's stick to Facebook.
And Tony, I know you do not have Twitter, but
I do not tweet or Twitter or Twatter or anything.
Do you Instagram?
I do not. I do not. I prefer not to be found whenever possible. But you can always read my stuff at goldderby.com.
And mine as well.
And you can find my writings at goldderby.com as well. And you can follow me on Twitter at Charles Bright. Everyone, this has been a great episode. Thanks so much for joining us. And we will see you next week. Be sure to keep going to goldderby.com. Update your predictions. We are going to be covering all of it as it comes over, as everything happens over the next few weeks. So stay tuned. Thanks so much, everyone.
Toodles.